This is Cashflow Ninja, episode 78, with Mark Podolsky and Scott Todd.
Welcome to the Cashflow Ninja, the podcast empowering and inspiring people to discover how to generate their own income and manage, grow, and protect their own wealth in the new economy. Now, here is your host, MC Laubscher.
Hello everyone, MC Laubscher here, and welcome to another episode of the Cashflow Ninja. I have an amazing show for you guys today, and in today's episode, we are going to be looking at an amazing passive income model that includes buying and selling raw land. My guest today is Mark Podolsky, also known as the Land Geek, and Scott Todd. They are the co-hosts of the great podcast, The Art of Passive Income. Mark is widely considered one of the country's most trusted and foremost authority on buying and selling raw, undeveloped land within the United States. He's been actively investing in real estate and raw land since 2001 and has completed over 5,000 unique transactions. Mark's company, Frontier Equity Properties, is a very reputable and successful land investing company, and Mark has achieved an amazing level of success in his business due to his core business philosophy, happy customers guaranteed. After spending 20 years in corporate America and being a vice president of a Fortune 300 company, Scott Todd decided to follow his passion and found his niche in real estate. After discovering Mark's podcast in October 2014, Scott decided to take action and started seeing results within 2 weeks. Scott is the co-host of the Art of Passive Income podcast with Mark and also the creator of Posting Domination. Mark and Scott will share their amazing passive income model in the interview with us. I think you guys will find it extremely interesting. I've personally learned a lot from both Mark and Scott. And every single time I either speak with them or listen to their podcast, I learn something new. As Henry Wadsworth Longfellow said, a single conversation across the table with a wise man is better than 10 years of mere study of books. I definitely feel that way every single time I get to spend some time with Mark and Scott. Please share your feedback and thoughts on today's interview and let me know your thoughts on Twitter. You can tweet me at MC Laubscher or by email at info@cashflowninja.com. And please remember to join our mailing list by signing up at cashflowninja.com or texting Cashflow Ninja, one word, all capitalized, to 44222. That's 2 4s and 3 2s. As some of my listeners may know, I live in Newtown, Pennsylvania, a town that's about 45 minutes away from Philadelphia, the birthplace of the United States, the home of the cheesesteak, the Rocky Steps, and also the hometown of the beloved founding father, Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin believed an investment in knowledge pays the best interest, and early to bed and early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. The Cashflow Ninja have aligned itself with partners that aims to empower you to be healthy, wealthy, and wise. Our healthy partner on it provides supplements, nutrient-dense and earth-grown foods, and fitness equipment to help you achieve your next level of well-being and total human optimization. Our listeners can get a 10% discount with coupon code GETONIT at cashflowninjahealth.com. Our wealthy partner Fundrise gives everyone the opportunity to invest in high-quality real estate without the middleman. Fundrise makes the process of investing in the highest quality commercial real estate from around the country simple, efficient, and transparent. You can get started with as little as $1,000 and do not have to be an accredited investor to participate in some of their offerings. You can check them out at cashflowninjawealth.com. And don't forget our wise partner, Audible. You can download any audiobook for free when you try Audible for 30 days. You can grab your free audiobook download at cashflowninjabook.com.
Hey, this is John Lee Dumas from Entrepreneur on Fire, and you're listening to the Cashflow Ninja podcast with your host, MC Laubscher. You must be prepared to ignite.
Well, Mark and Scott, welcome to the show.
MC, a pleasure to be here.
Oh man! Finally, I get to this popular show. I can't believe it.
Now, can you guys please share a little bit about your backgrounds and your journeys as entrepreneurs and real estate investors, and how you got started in the real estate business?
Sure. Scott, do you want me to start, or do you want to go?
Yeah, you go, Mark. Go ahead.
All right. So in 2000, I was working as a very unhappy investment banker, and we worked with mergers, acquisitions, private equity groups, mid-market stuff, $10 to $500 million enterprise value. And I hated it. I was in a cubicle. I had a 45-minute, commute to work and back. I was micromanaged. I mean, MC, I felt like I had no control, and like I wouldn't get the Sunday blues anticipating, Monday coming around. I'd get the Friday blues anticipating the weekend going so fast and then having to be back at work on Monday. So at my firm, we hired this guy, and he's telling me he's making 300% return on investment buying raw land and flipping it online. And so I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. I'm the show me state. I don't believe him, right? Because I'm looking at companies all day long, and a great company has 15% EBIT margins or higher. Free cash flow, right? A great company. Your average company is at 10%, and I'm looking at companies all day long below 10%. So 300% sounds ludicrous. So I go to this tax deed auction with him in New Mexico. I've got like $3,000 saved for car repairs, and I buy 10 half-acre parcels for an average price of about $300 each. And sure enough, the next few weeks I put them up online, and they sell for an average price of over $1,200. He was right. And so I did it again at another auction in Arizona. And I have no real estate background, by the way. So I made $90,000 on the next auction. And then to make a long story short, I did in land investing part-time as I worked full-time at my investment banking job. And once the land investing income exceeded my investment banking income, which took about 18 months, I finally quit my job. And I've been doing it full-time ever since. I've done over 5,000 land flips. Just this year, Scott and I are actually competing. I've done over 150 so far this year. And, we can talk about it, but I do think it is the best passive income model, MC. So that's my story. Scott, what's yours?
Well, so in a way similar to Mark's, I'm working at a company, but my position was a little bit different. I was working as an executive of a Fortune 300 company. And, I was to the point in my career where if the management team changed over, well, I was at risk. And I was in the middle of moving. The company headquarters was moving from New Jersey down to Florida, where I already lived in Florida. And right in the middle of our move, my wife and I and kids were moving from one city in Florida to another city in Florida. We're building this dream house because what could go wrong, right? The company's everything's looking great. We're investing in the community. We're moving all kinds of people. Company seems to be growing. And right in the middle of literally halfway in building our house, I'm watching CNBC's Mad Money one night with Jim Cramer, and Jim Cramer puts the CEO on his wall of shame. And I'm like, uh-oh, that's not good. And, there were some rumors. There were some things that were, some red flags. But when you see the CEO, who's your boss's boss on a TV show, and you realize, that's not a good thing. I looked at my wife, and I'm like, we are in trouble here, because it's not going to be long before the shareholders have him out. And when that happens, they're going to bring in a new top-level management. And we may be okay, but at the same time, it may be rocky. So that was literally for me, it was September of 2014. And so I began searching, okay, well, I kind of had this interest in real estate, didn't know what kind of real estate. I had tried other pieces, and I actually found Mark and learned about his system and his strategy and how he did it. And I basically just blindly executed what Mark taught. And I started the process in October of 2014. And by February of 2016, so February of this year, that's when I found out that my department was being outsourced. 85% of my department was being outsourced to another company and to Asia, and I was affected as well. So, over the 17 months and 3 days from when I started following the Land Geek strategy until the time that I walked out of the building, I literally worked blindly following and executing what Mark teaches, and at the same time, I built a passive income that allowed me to replace my executive salary. And MC, there's a great comfort level with knowing that you have like weathered a storm. You saw the storm coming. You executed, and made it happen, and then you protected your family. And so I like to kid with Mark, like, hey, Mark, it took you 18 months. It took me 17 months and 3 days. But maybe that just goes to the teacher. I don't know.
I like to think so. I like to think so.
Yeah, and I mean, that is such a powerful story, because I have said on the show before to my listeners that the employment or the job that you think you might have is already gone. You just don't know it yet. We're moving into extremely turbulent times as far as disruptions, and I mean, it's incredibly exciting if you look at it from the information age that we're into, and how we can, communicate and interact and network and meet people online and basically conduct business anywhere on the planet. On the other side, the way that we do provide security for our families is by having multiple streams of income and cash flow every single month. Now, let's talk about your investment philosophy before we jump into this model that you guys have touched upon. Can you guys share just a little bit about your approach to cash flow and passive income?
My very first job out of college was working with dentists, and I actually was like a dental consultant, helping dentists buy and sell their practices. And they had what we called solo economic dependency. So if their hands weren't in somebody's mouth, they weren't making any money, right? So this goes for like everybody that has like a freelancer, job, or doctors, lawyers, anyone that trades time for money is solo economic dependent, right? And it's great if you love what you do, but even people that love what they do at some point don't want to be dependent on it. And so based on that concept, we want to create passive income. And obviously real estate is, arguably the best way with the most benefits to creating passive income, even though it's not very easy, right? And so that was really the philosophy, is how do you get out of solo economic dependency? How do you create these multiple income streams without having to do all the work yourself? Because we can always make more money, but we can't get more time, right?
Now let's touch on the passive income model that you guys have talked about. Can you share that with my listeners?
Sure. So, basically, I don't want to hog the mic from Scott. So, Scott, you want me to take half of it?
Yeah, you take half. I'll take the other half. No problem.
All right. So this is what we think is the best passive income model. It's a one-time sale, right, with recurring income, without any of the traditional headaches of real estate, right? So basically, we don't have to deal with any renters, no rehabs, no renovations, no rodents. And because we're not dealing with any tenants, we don't have to worry about onerous legislation like Dodd-Frank. Land is exempt. RESPA, land is exempt. The SAFE Act, land is exempt. So we really think that this is the best passive income model. I'll let Scott sort of elaborate from there.
So what we do, MC, is we actually go out and we buy like the least thought of asset on the world that we all have to depend on, and that's land. And basically what we do is we look for land that people just have signaled to us that they don't want. And how do you do that? you look at the people who are not paying their property taxes, because if they're not paying their property taxes, there's an indication that they either don't want the land or they can't afford the taxes. They might have something going on with the particular property or in their lives that they would like someone like us to come in and make them an offer on their land. So we send them an offer and offer to buy their land. We buy it for pennies on the dollar, typically 20 to 30 cents on the value of it. And then we turn around and we sell it either for a cash flip of 300% return or on terms of up to 1,000% return. So what we're doing is we're working in an inefficient market that basically allows us to work directly with owners of land, because not too many realtors want to list land. They want to list the homes. They want to list the stuff that they're going to make big commissions on, not land.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, here's an example of a deal we just did yesterday, which I'm not that happy about, and I'll explain why, even though I really should be. But Scott's going to laugh. So we bought 12 acres in an area in Oregon for $6,000 cash, right? And we flipped it 10 days later, and we just got a wire for $22,999. Not 300%, but we only held it for 10 days. So from an annual return, over 300%. But, my favorite way to sell it is not cash. It's to create these notes, it's create these income streams, because we have no cost of foreclosure. We're not doing deeds of trusts. We're doing land contracts, right? So we can create these huge income streams without any headaches at all compared to the traditional real estate model.
Gotcha.
And we're really not talking, like Mark just gave an example, $6,000 piece of land for 12 acres. We're not talking about, $1 million properties. We're not even talking about, $100,000 properties. We're talking about investments that I've literally seen people buy properties for, and I've even bought properties like an acre of land for $100. Sometimes, I'm doing a deal right now that if I could tell you the size of it and the price, it would blow your mind that, hey, there's people out there that are seriously selling land that cheap, and yes, they are, because they don't know how to develop it. It's their flavor has changed, what they wanted to do with it, and they're willing to liquidate it.
Now, which markets? I have so many questions. This is amazing. Which markets are you guys in? Are you guys all over the country? And then it ties into one thing that I know that the three of us have spoken about is systems and automation. So if you guys can talk about the markets that you touch on, and then just jump into a little bit about how you systematize this and automate some parts of this model.
Mark, why don't you talk about the markets, and I'll talk about the automation.
Sure. So, the market is that we really focus on is the Southwest, a little bit in the Northwest, and Florida, right?
Okay.
Because nobody wakes up, MC, and thinks to themselves, boy, I'd really love some raw land in Iowa, right? Unless, of course, you live in Iowa. So we want to own properties in California, Nevada, Texas, Arizona, Oregon, Washington, Florida, right?
Right.
New Mexico, Colorado, areas that are growing, areas where if you're in New York or you're in Minnesota, you're in LA, and you see raw land and you're like, oh my gosh, it's so expensive. We're really providing that value. So there's a value continuum all along the line of just pure happiness, right?
Right.
So I'm helping this person who once had an asset, now it's in their mind a liability, right?
Right.
So we acquire that from them, and we help them out of that situation, and they get cash. Then we go out and we help somebody who maybe never thought they could even afford raw land, right?
Right.
And we make it an irresistible payment, owner financing, usually like a car payment, right? Maybe $1,000 down, $249 a month. Just about everyone can afford it, right?
Right.
And we make it really, really easy. And from that perspective, it's just a massive, massive market, and literally no competition, right? Private equity groups don't like this model. Hedge funds don't like this model. So it's not competitive. In fact, I remember when I started teaching how to do this, my wife said to me, she's like, well, what are you doing? You're gonna create your own competition. Well, I mean, a good example is Scott Todd. Scott, how many deals did you close this year?
Well, you and I are kind of neck and neck. We're competing, and you've done like right around 150, and I'm like at 153.
Right. So it hasn't affected my business at all. If anything, my business has grown in that sense. Because it's just a massive market, and literally because of the collective intelligence of a community of land investors, I've become a better investor. And Scott will kind of explain how, when I first started, there was no automation. I didn't even take it seriously as a business.
Right.
And now we're 90% automated. I work in Frontier Properties about 2 hours a week doing this, and I've done over 1.1 million this year.
That is amazing. And I just want, before Scott jumps in, I just want to say too, and that's the abundance mindset right there too, that there is more than enough out there for everybody. And actually, when there's other great investors coming into the market, I mean, it raises all boats. I mean, we all have to play at a higher level and a bigger game. So it's fantastic.
Yeah, MC, you actually just touched on something that I like. I've really adopted and learned, this abundance mindset really from Mark. And I got to be honest, because like when I started doing land investing, man, I felt like, man, I'm like, I can't tell a soul. I don't want to tell a soul where I am. I don't want to tell a soul what areas I'm investing land in. It's all secret. It's all about me being, there's not enough out there. I gotta hold it all to myself. And I'll never forget, I went to a boot camp that Mark was hosting, and he pulls up on the screen in an example, like this county that I was working, and I literally started sweating. Like I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta find another county because Mark's giving it all away. How would he pull up my county? And it wasn't my county to begin with. You know why? Because I figured out where he was, and I copied him. I Samsunged him, and I went right to where he was, and so it wasn't a secret. He was, in fact, I was the one that was just copying him. And then I started helping other investors, and I'll never forget. Like again, they started talking about counties that I was already in. I would start sweating. But as Mark said, the market there's 3,007 counties in the United States. I mean, in one county alone that I work in. This county is 2.2 million acres, and I only work in about 40,000 of those 2.2 million acres, and I am extremely busy just staying focused in that one little area. To anybody listening, if you can adopt and shift to this mindset of there's not enough to there's plenty for all of us, MC's right. If other investors or no matter what you're doing, if other people are working in an area, all the ships, the tide will rise all of those ships, meaning that if, like for land, as an example, if there's more people buying land in that area and there's more people selling land in that area and marketing land in that area, it's going to help all of us because there's going to be more attention on that one given area and maybe less on another. So, MC, you really hit on a key thing there.
Yeah, so it's so important, and just in every aspect too. And one thing that you just mentioned too was the modeling technique too. And you guys have a fantastic podcast as well that I listen to, and I try to look at what other guys are doing out there that are successful and just killing it in the field that they're at, and try to learn as much as I can from them as well. So, that's awesome just to bring out how you modeled exactly the what Mark was doing as well.
Yeah, it's if you put your ego to the side a minute and try not to recreate the wheel, you can learn from other people, get the foundations down, and then you can get creative and you can bring your own flavor to it. But I was telling someone just today that if you're learning how to cook and you go online, you download a recipe, you follow that recipe to a T, like because you want to eat tonight. So you follow that recipe, and at the end of the recipe, when you've cooked it, you have a meal. And if you have followed the directions, you probably have a pretty tasty meal. Now, if you were to be someone who's learning how to cook, and you look at this recipe and you go, you know what, I'm going to add it. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to put this over here. I'm not going to put enough of that. I'm going to create my own recipe. Well, then you're going to get to the end of it, and it may not taste so good, right? Like because you changed it up. Now, do that enough times where you're following someone's recipe and you learn how to cook and you learn how the flavors interact with each other and you learn this and you learn that. Now you can start to become the chef, right? Like you don't just wake up one day and you're the chef. You have to learn how to cook. I think it's the same way with any other business model or any other strategy that you're following. Listen and follow the recipe to a T. Get the foundations done and then begin to interject what you want into your own business, creation, investment, whatever it is.
Very powerful advice. Now, let's jump into how you guys automate this.
Oh man, yeah, I even feel guilty like taking this from Mark because automation is truly his favorite word.
It is my favorite word. My second favorite word is free. It used to be, yeah. So I mean, the automation piece is absolutely incredible, and basically, we've broken down every process in the business from essentially mailing to due diligence to marketing to closing to note management, and literally completely automated it with software. And what used to take us so what used to take me, let's say, 20 minutes in paperwork now takes Scott how long?
30 seconds. Wait, we even timed it the other day. It was like 5 seconds, wasn't it?
It takes 5 seconds. And we're measuring this. So I think between three of us, I remember one month we saved 119 hours working in the software. So it's unbelievable. There's never been a better time to be in business than today with all the tools, all the software, all the automation. And it's really just completely transformed not just my business but my life in that sense where I'm no longer working in the business and we're just working on the business and just managing. It's we're just looking at reports on Friday. How many offers went out? How many deals are pending? How many deals did we close? And how many properties did we sell? And it's that simple. And then just thinking, okay, well, how do we make this bigger?
And when you balance, MC, like the automation and all of this stuff that you can build with the technologies that's there, and like Mark said, because we are full time in this business. We're not, Mark's a full time land investor, so am I. We have, we have worked together to really create a suite of packages that kind of go end to end on the whole system, from our offer letters going out to how our deeds get prepared, to, like Mark said, note management, even to how we've automated our posting of ads that we post on Craigslist. Even that piece is automated. And then we sprinkle in, on top of the automation, assistance from VAs. And I think you have a recipe for you have a recipe that can literally take whatever you're doing and streamline it so that, Mark works 2 hours a week in his business. I work more. I probably work about 5 to 6 hours a week. So, I'm really slaving away out here.
I hate Scott. I'm like, what are you doing today? He's like, I'm retired. He's working on his boat in Florida. I mean,
that's amazing. Now, the software that you guys use, is this something that you guys had someone help you create, or is it just something that's out in the marketplace and you've just combined a couple of tools in your workflow for yourselves that make sense?
Well, Scott comes from a tech background in IT. So he took 3 existing tools and then, created all these integrations. And then we're like, well, we've got these 3 platforms that we're sort of dependent on. And so then we hard coded it and made it our own proprietary system. So we call it LG Pass, the Land Geek proprietary automated software system. Scott, is that a good explanation?
Yeah. And so basically what we've done is when we started off, we were using like over the shelf kind of cloud-based technologies that were pieced together. And we are migrating that into proprietary software that we've developed to help us run our businesses and be as efficient as possible. And I think that's a key point, MC, is like, if you're going to do something or work with somebody, you want to find people that are actually doing it, not people that are just teaching or talking about it. Who are the people that are actually doing stuff? And those are the people that you want to, take your advice from.
Very, very true. There's a lot of people out there selling courses, et cetera, so that's why it's so great to have guys like you on that live and breathe and talk and do and in the business, and through your generosity, just share your knowledge, educating others to do the same and empower themselves and their families.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's really no better feeling. We'll get an email. Like, in fact, we just got an email a few weeks ago from PJ Riley on Bigger Pockets, and he's made more money this year in land flipping than he has at his full-time job. Right? Yeah. I mean, think of that. Like, that's amazing. I've never met the guy, but so to kind of be that pebble in the pond and make that impact, and it ripples out and it affects so many people. It's way better than when I was just sort of hoarding my knowledge and just helping myself and my family. I mean, there's no better feeling. Like, I say this to Scott all the time. I can die in peace now, knowing that I've made a difference.
Yeah, that's a fantastic feeling. And the model that you guys have set up too. So say, for instance, there's listeners in many countries listening to this show. They can implement the same strategies and the same model, or is some of the software tailored just for U.S. and Canadian investors? Or
this can be done anywhere in the world. We cater to U.S. land.
Okay.
We've looked at international land. Canada's got a lot of frictional costs associated with it, which reduces your ROI. And the fact is, our market is so huge. Why even go anywhere else? I mean, you can buy land in Costa Rica it's just for my risk tolerance to deal with unknown, governments and entities and laws, and it doesn't make any sense to me. I think it's too much risk.
Yeah, and
does that answer the question, MC?
Yeah, it does, and that's also another golden nugget, because we've spoken about how you want to be able to control investments, and if there's unknown variables such as you just mentioned, that's definitely just a ding against whatever investment or opportunity you're looking at. Now, guys, a habit that I've observed from very wealthy and successful people is that they're always studying new subjects and learning new skills. What are you guys currently studying right now, and what skill sets are you guys currently learning?
Scott, you want to go on this?
Yeah. I agree. I mean, like, if I was just sitting idle and chillaxing, then I'm going to get crushed one day, or anybody that's doing that is going to get crushed one day. And Mark and I, we both kind of follow a similar philosophy of growing and really trying to do bigger deals and looking at the market as a whole. So we're looking to grow, like how we even interact with other investors. How we can grow and to look at bigger deals, not just some of the ones that we're doing, but how do we grow and into, I'm not going to say like build a fund, but how do we interact more with investors and kind of bring to them some of the leverage that some of the skill sets that we have, so that they can, maybe if they don't want to become land investors, that they can still benefit from those types of interactions.
Yeah, and I think from a growth mindset, Scott and I are constantly reading. We're constantly taking courses. We have mentors. We know we don't know it all, and any way that we can leverage our time and even 10x our knowledge, we'll do it. So, I remember on our podcast, Scott had a great tip of the week, and it was Clark. Was it CLARKE.ai? Right,
yeah.
Scott? Yeah. This is amazing, right? So there's a million podcasts maybe podcasts, but like there's a million webinars I want to listen to, and I just don't have time to do it. So I can go on Clark.ai. It'll dial in for me. It'll take email and notes and just send it to me. Then I can quickly read it, and I've just leveraged my time. I'm listening to Audible constantly, and I'm just trying to do things to not just make me a better investor, a better person, right? So, and everything from better communication, better interpersonal skills, empathy, and then just as well as, looking at different niches and markets and solving those pain points, like Scott said. I'm always uncomfortable being comfortable. If there's ever a day where I feel comfortable, I'm like, oh, I got this. I get very anxious. I'm like, oh no, something's wrong. So I really subscribe to the Andy Grove book. Only the paranoid survive.
That's so true. Trying to push yourself out of that comfort zone daily, because that's where the growth happens. Especially with that growth mindset, that's something we got to look and try and do every day. That you just mentioned on something that, Clark, I have not heard of that. That is, I mean, you guys have shared so much value on the show already. It's called Clark.ai.
Yeah, CLARKE.ai. And we've got a million of these things, MC.
And that's when we talk about like automation. This is the stuff that, we kind of geek out on, is like, okay, how can we take and leverage the technology that's there? And like Mark said, this Clark AI, it will dial into conference calls, or it will dial into webinars for you, and it will take notes. And then, so now what I've done is I've now multiplied my time so that I can get ideas brought back to me. And then I'm not necessarily looking to like shift gears and, okay, let me go chase that shiny object over there. It's more of, okay, how do I take the ideas that are in the marketplace? How do I take these signals that other industries are doing, or other investors are doing, or other people are doing, and how do I come back and how do I apply it to my business to leverage it and to grow even further?
Well, that's amazing. Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. And just a core message in our show too is to leave our families and communities and the world better than we found it by passing down a mindset, values, and principles to future generations, not just money. So if you cannot pass on any money to future generations, and we're only allowed to pass on 3 principles to them to build wealth and achieve happiness and success, what would they be?
Mark, I'll go first.
Okay, sure.
MC, I would say first, accountability. I'm personally believe that I am accountable for everything that happens to me. It doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. Okay, it could be that that if I was having someone to come to my house and they just didn't show up. Well, if they don't show up, it's my fault. It's my fault because did I call and did I call and confirm it? Did I choose the wrong guy? It's my fault, right? It's not that guy's fault. I mean, in a way it is, but it's still, I have to look at it and say it's my fault. And I think that when you have this mindset that you're accountable for everything that happens to you, you start to realize like, man, I've got to, next principle is I've got to be proactive. I've got to be accountable for everything. And then I've got to look at everything and I've got to control it, because when I'm not controlling it and I'm not controlling situations, then again, I'm the victim, and you can't go through life as having a victim mindset. So number 1 is personal accountability. 2 is keep control and control those things. And I think the 3rd is integrity. You will not move the needle in your life or anybody else's life if you just don't do what you say you're going to do. It doesn't matter if it's for yourself or for somebody else. If you say, we'll be coming up soon on New Year's resolutions, and if we go back and say, hey, I'm going to make this resolution, I'm going to lose 2 pounds, or I'm going to lose 10 pounds. If you say you're going to do it, follow through and do it. Do it for yourself. If you can't do it for yourself, you can't do it for anybody else. So do the things that you need to for yourself. And those are my 3.
Yeah, I love those 3. And MC, I'll try to think of 3 different ones.
That's why I had to go first.
Yeah. So to pass it down, I'd say this to my clients. I say this to my children. Money doesn't make anyone happy, right? There's happiness study after happiness study. But at the end of the day, what does make people happy are the quality of your relationships, right? So when you start with that and think about, well, how can I make my relationships better? And, being thoughtful, being mindful, having empathy, making another person, feel important, being present when you're with that person. I think those are the qualities that take you your whole life. And it's like golf or tennis, right? Like you can start now and you can play those things your whole life, right? And they just constantly pay dividends. So I would say focusing on the quality of relationships is number one. Number two would be, I'm going to steal it from Stephen Covey, starting with the end in mind, right? What do you want people to say about you at your funeral, right? And thinking about that every day. I mean, I know it's morbid to think about death all the time, but I think about it all the time, right? Before you make that decision, right? Because a lot of people will bifurcate their business lives and their personal lives, and their business values and their personal values. And I think that's a mistake. So I would say that, before you make that decision, well, what are people going to say about you at your funeral, right? Were you generous? Were you compassionate? Or were you greedy, right? Were you greedy with knowledge? Were you, only looking out for yourself? And not just your family and your community and all those things. So I would say, start with the end in mind, focus on relationships. And then the third one I would say is that you are responsible for everything, just like what Scott said. Personal responsibility, I think, is huge. Letting go of excuses, letting go of the things you can't control. Even though you can't control it, you can control your reaction to it, right?
Right.
And I meditate every day, right? And that's just a daily practice of letting things go, right? There's a sort of a peace about it when you know that no matter what happens in the external world, you're going to be fine internally, and just knowing that you're enough, right? I love the quote, comparison is the thief of happiness. And when we go on these podcasts and, I'll even on my podcast, I'll talk to people with, net worths of hundreds of millions of dollars. Right. And sometimes I feel a little sting in my heart, like, well, what am I doing wrong? But why should I compare myself? I don't know if they have a good marriage. I don't know what their relationship is with their children. Right.
Right.
And maybe they're miserable. We all know those people that are so poor, all they have is money. So I really think that those three things will take you very far in life.
Very, very powerful stuff, guys. Thank you so much for sharing that. There's just so many things you guys touched on, and I think one thing that you both touched on too is just taking responsibility and that accountability, and I believe in that so much. My life, as entrepreneurs and business owners, we all go through, peaks and valleys and a ton of failures that I had. I think the minute when I started to switch that mindset and say the buck starts and stops with me, everything had an immediate impact and effect in my life personally. Guys, are there some books that you would recommend to my audience that have made a pretty significant impact in your life?
MC, I would say I'm a big fan of Grant Cardone's 10X. I think that book is incredible. And I will tell you that I read it about November of 2015. I read about this same time last year. And I looked at what I was doing and what I needed to do, knowing that still at this time a year ago, I did not know that I was really going to be outsourced. I mean, it was just kind of this hunch that I had. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, what do I need to do to raise that up a notch? And that book really laid the foundation for me to put together just an incredible 2016. So if anybody hasn't read that, I would highly recommend that. And then while you're reading it, go ahead and read the next one, which is Be Obsessed or Be Average. And you'll just see that, you really need to get, no matter what you're doing in life, you really need to get obsessed about your goals and you and your family and the things that are important to you, because otherwise you're not going to take the appropriate actions that you need to really protect yourself and your family and everybody else that you really want to protect at the end of the day.
Yeah, and MC, I'm going to have to compete with Scott now and give 3 book recommendations since he did 2. Is that okay?
That's awesome. Yes, the more
Scott, I'm just kidding.
I have a third one too, but I'll let you.
I know you do. The funny thing is, like, we could literally go on all day. Like, we should start a new site, like just book recommendations, like that personal MBA guy. But are you guys gonna get mad at me if I say the one thing? I love that book.
It's a great book.
Everybody says it, but I do love it. I do love it. So I would say, like, the one thing is fantastic. What I've just finished reading, which I really got a lot out of, was The Willpower Instinct by Kelly McGonigal. And then another one I think is, kind of more, tactical, but I think your listeners will love, MC, is Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. So those are going to be my 3.
Great. No, thank you for those recommendations. And Be Obsessed or Be Average is actually on my nightstand too. So
yeah,
I think he just released that book, so it's fairly new. But yeah, thank you for the recommendations, guys. They're awesome. Now, how can my audience learn more about you, your company, the podcast, and all the projects that you guys are involved with?
Sure. I think the best place to find me is going to be the landgeek.com. And then also on iTunes, Scott and I have a podcast, The Art of Passive Income. Scott's got some sites too. I'll let Scott talk about it.
Yeah, you can learn more about me at scotttodd.net. And if you're looking for a way that if you're doing anything in the marketplace that you're interacting with Craigslist, you really, really need to check out this website. It's postingdomination.com. So check out postingdomination.com and learn how to automate your Craigslist postings, because it will change the way that you market to the 10th largest website in the world.
Guys, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your journey and your knowledge. I mean, you guys created so much value for my audience. It's been wonderful having you on the show. And as usual, after I listen to your podcast or have a conversation with you guys, there's just so much in my head right now that I'm just going to think about and look into. So I really appreciate it and had a blast.
We did too. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, MC. Really appreciate it.
Hi, this is MC Laubscher, the host of the Cashflow Ninja podcast. As you may know, I'm also the president and chief wealth strategist of Valhalla Wealth Financial. We help individuals, families, small businesses, entrepreneurs, and professionals build their wealth outside of Wall Street and help investors maximize the use of every dollar in their personal economy and boost their investment gains. We do this by combining their capital and investments with the financial vehicle of the wealthy, according to the infinite banking concept. If you are interested in learning more, you can email me at info@cashflowninja.com and I will send you a copy of Nelson Nash's book, Becoming Your Own Banker. Thank you for joining me and my guests today, Mark Podolsky and Scott Todd. If you like what you hear and appreciate what we're trying to build here at the Cashflow Ninja, please subscribe, rate, and review our show on iTunes and share our show with friends, family, and your network. I really have been humbled by your support and feedback. If there's any way that I can provide more value to you and serve you better, please reach out to me at info@cashflowninja.com. Don't forget to take advantage of the offers from our partners that aim to empower you to be healthy, wealthy, and wise. Our healthy partner Onnit provides supplements, nutrient-dense and earth-grown foods, and fitness equipment to help you achieve your next level of well-being and total human optimization. Our listeners can get a 10% discount with coupon code GETONIT at cashflowninjahealth.com. Our wealthy partner Fundrise gives everyone the opportunity to invest directly in high-quality real estate without the middleman. Fundrise makes the process of investing in the highest quality commercial real estate from around the country simple, efficient, and transparent. You can get started with as little as $1,000 and do not have to be an accredited investor to participate in some of their offerings. You can check them out at cashflowninjawealth.com. And don't forget our wise partner Audible. You can download any audiobook for free when you try Audible for 30 days. You can download your free audiobook download at cashflowninjabook.com. That's our show for today, everyone. Until next time, be amazing and live a life of passion and purpose on your terms.
You have been listening to the Cash Flow Ninja with your host, MC Laubscher, the podcast empowering and inspiring people to discover how to generate their own income and manage, grow, and protect their own wealth in the new economy. Today's show notes and resources are available on our website, cashflowninja.com. This presentation is for educational and informational purposes only. The information being presented and considered does not consider your particular financial objectives or situation, and it does not make personalized recommendations. This material is not intended to replace the advice of a qualified tax and legal advisor or other qualified professionals, and you should not use the information in place of a customized consultation with a licensed professional regarding your specific personal financial objectives, situation, and needs. We believe the information provided is reliable, but we do not guarantee its accuracy, timeliness, or completeness.